talking about magical mushrooms, the magic of mushrooms. And this is such an important subject because I really feel like mushrooms are here to transform the world. Anyone else think that? That wasn't very enthusiastic, except for you. You get a gold star. Do we think mushrooms are here to transform the world? Yeah, you got it. Woo! So today we're going to be looking at some of the history, the folklore, the science, the healing benefits of medicinal mushrooms. I recently wrote this book, 7 Magical Mushrooms, which is a journey through those things. And when you look at mushrooms, for me, you know, mushrooms are everywhere. And when we start to look at where mushrooms come from and where life comes from, there's a lot of studies showing that actually the plants only developed on the land because of the mushrooms helping them adapt. And I think this is something that we're seeing more and more at this time. Mushrooms are coming in to the awareness. Obviously, they've always been there, but they're coming into awareness because they're here to help us adapt and change. Because the world is changing and the energy is changing. The frequency of the earth is changing. And in this changing, we need support. We need that guidance. We need the things that help take us out of this box that society has put us in. Anyone else see the box around them? Yes. That's trying to be put around them anyway. Mushrooms are here, and it doesn't have to be the psychoactive mushrooms. We're going to cover a whole array of different mushrooms. But mushrooms are here to allow us to think outside that box, to think outside that limiting beliefs that we have. I personally came across mushrooms when I was a teenager, as I think many people did, and enjoyed partaking in magical mushrooms. And it was amazing because it did just that. It took my awareness as this 15-year-old who was quite spiritual and could feel and see things around me. And suddenly, on this mushroom journey I took, I saw things expanded that I was already seeing. And I thought, you know what? And I was able to talk to my friends who didn't have that same perception that I normally had. And they could see and feel all of these things. And you could see this chain of events of this waking up that was happening in people. These little light bulb moments as people were going, oh, there's more to life than just what we're being programmed with. And I think that happens with so many different plant medicines and plants and connections to the earth that we can journey with. They're there to show us that there is more than what we are being told. If anyone wants to come out of the sun and come into this bit here, I won't bite. You can come close. It's fine because I know it's quite sunny out there. So for me, that was the beginning of my journey with mushrooms. And then it wasn't until I was in my mid-20s that I started to train as a nutritionist. And I then came across someone called David Avocado Wolfe, who wrote the foreword to my book. And he was talking a lot about mushrooms. And this got me back into mushrooms, but not the psychedelic mushrooms. Mushrooms like Reishi and chaga and lion's mane. And I really began this deep dive into the world of mushrooms. And for me, a big part of my journey started when I was 8 and my mother got multiple sclerosis and she had what's known as chronic progressive MS. And so within 6 months, she was in a wheelchair. And her mission was to heal herself through nutrition, through all different modes. And so she spent a lot of time teaching us. We went on to a vegetarian diet. She really got into health and well-being, and she started to teach me and bring me that awareness from 8 that what we put in our body affects us. Now, as a teenager, I stuck my fingers up to all of it and rebelled and ate a load of junk food, as you do. And then when I was in my 20s and I was pregnant with my first child in my mid-20s, I suddenly went, hang on, this isn't about sticking your fingers up to your parents anymore, being a petulant teenager. This is about another human being. It's time to wake up and think about what you're putting into your body because this is about someone else. And that really began my journey with nutrition through my son, but obviously starting earlier. So part of my mission on nutrition was to heal people with MS or help them heal. Became a really big thing. I want to help them because my mum died when I was 21 and I don't want to see other people going through the hell she went through. So it's like, how can I work with people? What can I do? And on this exploration of multiple sclerosis, I came across lion's mane mushroom. And lion's mane is absolutely amazing for people with multiple sclerosis. Lion's mane is incredible for cognitive function. It really helps to protect the myelin sheath, which degrades with multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, dementia, all these things. and also with aging as well. So lion's mane is incredible because of that neuroprotectivity. So I started to learn about that, and I really got into that and started to work with clients who had MS with lion's mane and other things like high dose vitamin D, and changing their diet onto a plant-based diet, and having such huge success. And it was beautiful seeing these people's lives transformed. And then getting into Reishi mushroom, which has such an amazing ability to support the body and support autoimmune conditions. So that really was such a big ramp up in my journey with mushrooms, because I could see them working so well. So I've been a nutritionist for over 21 years now, so I've worked with a lot of people, and mushrooms have been such a core foundation of that work. And when I was writing this book, when I was really exploring these ancient stories, you look at Reishi mushroom, for example, and this is a beautiful Reishi here. Look at that. This is a Reishi from our land. And Reishi mushroom, there are different forms of Ganoderma, and this is known as an artist bracket. And when you compare this to the red reishi, which is what's used in Chinese medicine a lot, they've got the same chemical composition but look totally different. So this is the mushroom of our land. And when you look, I'm going to be doing a talk in October actually at Stone Seekers Conference. I've got some flyers over there. I'm going to be talking about how mushrooms help to transform potentially, and it's so important in our ancient sacred sites, and how the Druids use the mushrooms a lot. So. But with Reishi mushroom, the Chinese call this the soul mushroom. And I think that's such a beautiful name. And they call it the soul mushroom because they say this mushroom helps to connect you to your soul's purpose. Who here wants to connect to their soul's purpose more? No. Me too. I mean, I really know my soul's purpose, feel I'm on that journey, and I feel the mushrooms really just anchoring and holding me in that so much. And recently, I was talking to my younger brother. He owned 4 pubs in London. He was an alcoholic. He came to me. I was always trying to help him as his older sister, saying, "Can I help you? Do you want some recipes? Do you want some advice?" And he didn't want any of it. And he got really unwell, and he came to me and he said, "Juliette, can you help me?" And I said, "Will you listen?" And he said, "Yeah." So I said, "Of course." And got him on the mushrooms, got him on lots of different health things. He stopped drinking, he's transformed his life, and you see him now, and he is such an incredible soul, just shining. And the difference in 6 years that he's journeyed is just phenomenal. And him and I created the All You Need Superfoods product together, and a whole range of other superfoods. But I said to him recently, I said, "What do you think really started awakening you to your soul? What do you think really started to wake you up on this journey?" Because he was always so shut down. And he said, "I think it was the mushrooms." And he doesn't take psychoactive mushrooms. He's on the reishi, the mushroom tincture. He loves taking those mushrooms. And it was so nice to hear that. And I thought, in my mind, in that moment, the Chinese saying of the soul mushroom really popped into my head. And I thought, it's done it. It's opened him up to that truth of who he is and what his purpose is. Because we come to this earth, don't we, with a mission, I believe. We're here to achieve something. We're here to follow our heart. We're here to follow our soul. And we're here to be loving and kind and make connections. And yet we're programmed, Nikita was talking about it earlier so beautifully, we're programmed from such a young age to disconnect from that. And then I remember when I was a teenager and I was like, I don't want to see all this stuff, I don't want to feel all of it, I want to shut down. And I did. And then I've spent my rest of my life trying to reopen up that beautiful divine connection. And I think that's part of it for everyone. We have to come at it ourselves. We have to not just be programmed by other people. We have to have that rebellion in our teenage years so we can go, actually, what is my truth? What is the truth of my soul? But if we don't have that support from A, our nutrition, B, the energetics of the space we're in and the people around us, then it's very hard to get back into that connection when you're just bombarded with programming. You've got to make money, you've got to do this, you've got to do this, this is how you have to think, this is how you have to dress. And so I really feel like the mushrooms can gently guide us on this journey to reconnecting. So under the ground underneath us is the mycelium network, and the mycelium network is a beautiful white filament, and it's a network that connects all things, all trees, all plants, all animals, all humans, and it's the main part of the mushroom. So this mushroom here that I've shown you and this one, these are the fruiting bodies. So this is like the apple on the tree, but the tree is everywhere, but we don't see it. Isn't that special? It's everywhere and it's interconnecting with everything. And I often think about that interconnection. And when I was a teenager, I used to go off on meditations and journeys where I would send healing through this white network. And I had no idea what it was, and this network interacted with everything. And when I came across mushrooms and I heard about the mycelium network, I went, that's it! That's what I've been tuning into all these years and didn't know what it was. And I started to think about it even more. So if a tree's over here and it's in distress, and it needs to send nutrients to, this tree needs to send nutrients to this one that's in distress, it sends it through the mycelium network. So I started to think about this concept. If trees can do it, and if animals can do it, and plants can do it, why can't we? Why can't we shift our awareness out of this physical realm into we can support each other energetically through the mushroom network? Who here wants to do that? Yeah? Because you know what? I think it's such an important thing. We learn to support each other more. You know, we're programmed that everyone is competition. Everyone is out there to get us, aren't we? When we're younger, it's like, that's what the world is. It's dangerous. But actually, we're all such beautiful beings. And if we start to support each other energetically through the mycelium, I think we could really transform the world. Who wants to transform the world? Yeah. Transform the outer world. The inner world doesn't need to change. This beautiful planet is so magical, but that's what we need to do, come back more to that. So when we look at mushrooms, they work in so many different ways. They're so multi-dimensional, really. So we have the mycelium network, which is the earth covering everything. And then there are mushroom spores in space. Wow. Yeah, exactly. So we're pulling in that cosmic energy. Now, I've been doing a lot of work with Qigong recently and connecting deep into the earth. You know, you anchor in, you connect into that earth energy. And when you've got that earth energy flowing through you, you pull down that cosmic energy. And you get these currents of earth energy and cosmic energy flowing through your body. And that really starts to amplify your energy system so that you are this beautiful vehicle connected to the cosmos and the earth. And then everything can flow. And when I was doing that, as I was practicing this opening exercise, you know, where you're doing this connection through your breath, the mushrooms popped into me. I thought that's what they're doing all the time. They're connecting us into the earth and the cosmos because that's where they exist. And not only are they doing that on a physical level because that's where they exist in the cosmos, but when you start to work with mushrooms, and I'm not just talking the psychoactive ones, they do expand your consciousness. So they're opening your mind to be able to perceive and receive this information which is always flowing in. And this for me is the key to where we're at. You know, if you look at charts of what's happening to the vibration of the earth, you know, we've been pretty steady for a long time and we're on this curve now and we're going up like this and we're only at the beginning of the curve. So there is this huge acceleration happening right now. And that's why you see these incredible children coming in who have so much energy. And they think in a totally different way. Their brains are wired differently and they are receiving all these channels of information coming in. But for those children, it's very, very hard to process this world right now. They're the ones who are here to anchor the new energy. So the energy of the earth is rising and they're holding that frequency so the earth can link to it. Does that make sense to everyone? But these children are struggling. Anyone know any children who are struggling with, yeah? So what the mushrooms do, and I've seen it, I've worked with many, many children now with this and adults, is the mushrooms can help bring that clarity. So my middle son, you know, was struggling for a while and I could see he had all these channels of information coming in, thousands of them streaming into him. And he couldn't make sense of it. It was too much, so it threw him into overwhelm. And I get that sometimes. Anyone feel that when you've got all this information flooding in and your brain just goes, oh, God, I can't process it. I just want to go and hide. And for me and for so many other people that I've seen now, what the mushrooms do is they just come in and they make sense of it. And they just go, it's okay. They take that overwhelm down because they're working on a physical level on the adrenals. So they're bringing the cortisol down in the body. They're reducing anxiety. They're helping to support the whole being to come into this present moment, and they're helping the mind to filter. So they're creating that peace. I really feel that. And have any of you ever gone out looking for mushrooms in the woods? Yeah? What do you get? What feeling do you get when you go out? Wonder, yeah. Excitement. So I called this book 7 Magical Mushrooms because all mushrooms are magical. And the definition of magical is things beyond the realm that we perceive them in. To be magical, to be in this extrasensory world, to bring excitement, to bring joy, to illuminate the hidden. That's some of the definitions of what magical mean. And when you go walking in the woods looking for mushrooms, or looking for anything really, you do get that wondrous sense of joy, that childlike sense of what is here. And when you go out looking for mushrooms, another thing that happens is you get brought into the present moment. Because we spend most of our time thinking about yesterday or tomorrow. But when you're foraging for anything, what you do is you're suddenly looking around at what is here now. What is in this present moment? And that's quite a beautiful thing, isn't it? To be that transfixed with, where actually am I? Has anyone stopped and thought that often? Where actually am I? Hang on, I'm in a field. What's around me? Where actually is this? Or look at the trees and actually taking that time to connect with the ground that's underneath them and the surroundings, instead of like, oh, where am I going now? I've got to find the toilets, I've got to do this, I've got to do that. Not being actually present with the space that we're in. And for me, that's what the mushrooms do. They almost stop time to bring us into the present moment. So as I said, mushrooms work on many layers. On a physical level, mushrooms, a lot of mushrooms have a great nutritional profile. Chaga is very, very high in nutrients. A lot of other mushrooms like birch polypore can be very high in vitamin D, depending on how they're grown and how they're dried. But they absorb, if you pick a mushroom like this is a birch polypore, and you leave it outside like this to dry, it absorbs the sun's rays. So when you consume it, you're getting D3 from it. So you're getting vitamin D, which is an essential nutrient for 900 functions in your body. So mushrooms are amazing at that. And in fact, your button mushrooms, your chestnut mushrooms, all of these mushrooms, as long as organically grown, actually are incredibly nutritious. They contain L-statin, which is what they make statins from. So they're very good at regulating cholesterol in the body, very good for blood pressure, amazing nutrients. So you've got your nutritional profile as the first thing. You've also got their ability to be immune modulators. So mushrooms like this, and like reishi, chaga, lion's mane, cordyceps, turkey tails, they're all immune modulators. So what that means is they go in and they regulate the immune system. And this is why they're so effective for autoimmune conditions. Because a lot of things like echinacea or elderberries are incredible, but they ramp up the immune system. Now, some people's immune system's on high alert all the time. They don't need ramping up. They need regulating. They need it to modulate. So this is what the mushrooms do. They come in and they modulate the immune system. Super important. In our immune system, we have 2 levels of immunity. So we have the first level, which is like your daily cleanse, looking at bacteria, food intolerances, parasites. And then you have your deep spring clean. And that's the second level, which is targeting cancer cells, pathogens, viruses, and a deeper level. And so most people in this world are eating food they're intolerant to, are riddled with parasites, and riddled with bad bacteria. So this top immune system is always on. So the deep clean never happens. Now, if you've got a home and you always just surface clean, but you never deep clean, you're going to get trouble. We need to go in and have that deep clean of our body. So the mushrooms come in and create that beautiful modulation in our system. The next thing that the mushrooms do, and I touched on it earlier, is they're very neuroprotective. So I was talking about lion's mane and its neuroprotectivity and how it's being used for dementia, Alzheimer's, all of these amazing things, and also just aging, cognitive decline. Lion's mane is also incredible for women as their hormones change in the perimenopausal, menopausal shift, to help with brain fog. It helps give you that mental clarity. And I have to say, it's been a lifesaver. I've made a tincture called Goddess Vitality, which has lion's mane, shilajit, shatavari, and lots of other amazing things, damiana, blue lotus. So for perimenopause and menopause, it's amazing. It's good for other hormonal stages as well, but it just brings that mental clarity. So lion's mane's amazing for that. One of the things when we look at cognitive function, why it starts to decline, is also our stress levels. So stress has a huge impact on so many areas of our health and our well-being. Anyone feel stress impacts them? Yeah? Stress is, I think, one of the things that, for me, I feel hits me the most on a regular basis. Just stress from so many areas. Our life can be so stressful. So doing things like meditation, grounding, foraging, connecting to the earth, breathing, all of these things are so important when we're looking at our stress levels. But also bringing in the foods that can help regulate that stress. So things like the Reishi mushroom, amazing to support the adrenals. And look at this gorgeous guy with his mushroom outfit on. We're going to be talking about that lovely mushroom in a little bit. When we're looking at, sorry, totally lost what I was saying. I need more lion's mane. Reishi mushroom. So what happens in our body when we're dealing with stress is our adrenals are pumping out adrenaline and cortisol. And our adrenals are two little glands that sit on top of our kidneys. Now, what happens is that the more stress, more adrenaline and cortisol is pumping through our body, the more the adrenals become burnt out, the more exhausted we get. So what do you guys do if you're tired? Sleep. Amazing. A lot of talks I give, people say, have a coffee. Anyone here have a coffee when they're tired? Or sugar? Now, obviously, sometimes sugar in a coffee, if you're doing a long drive, might be, that thing to get you home safely, and that's great, but we don't want to be living on that. We want to be sleeping, we want to be resting when our body says to, and that's really important to help support our adrenals. But then bringing in those adaptogens to help our body adapt to change. And reishi and chaga are such amazing adaptogens, as is cordyceps. They're all incredible to help your body to deal with stress and to deal with change. And as I talked about in the beginning, the vibration of this planet is changing. And we are having to ramp up our detoxification. We're having to ramp up our ability to go with the flow, to adapt. And so we need to bring these tools in even more. The Schumann resonance is increasing so much at the moment. So we're having lots of solar flares going on. A lot of solar flare activity, and it can wipe you out. Anyone felt exhausted recently in the last couple of weeks with the solar flare activity? It's like, it's intense. So what's happening is these rays, we're getting more downloads. So the solar activity, these solar flares coming in, the sun is an amazing tool. It's an amazing healer. It's an amazing teacher. And those solar energy that's coming in is here to give us upgrades. It's helping us to shift. But in that shifting, we're like, I need to rest a bit more. And rest's a good thing. But then for me, adding in the mushrooms is so supportive to help my body to deal with that. Because for me, when I'm working with those mushrooms, as I said, it's that anchoring of the earth and the anchoring of the cosmos. And the cosmos includes the sun. It is that solar energy. Interestingly enough, when we look at the sun, we've been programmed to say the sun is bad, haven't we? Sun is not good for you. You'll get skin cancer. Anyone heard that? Stay out of the sun, it's dangerous. And we have to be aware because the sun is super powerful. But the sun is such an incredible healer. And when you look at the sun and receive the sun's energies without sunglasses on, you are receiving activations. And the mushrooms can help support those activations. So then we've looked at the neuroprotectivity, the immune modulation, the nutritional profile of the mushrooms. Then we look at the spiritual side of it. Mushrooms can help us to open our mind. They can help us connect to God. There are many stories about the fly agaric mushroom, which is this beautiful mushroom here, the amanita, which this lovely lady is going to be doing a ceremony after me.
Water ceremony.
Water ceremony. But bringing in the energies of amanita.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So the amanita mushroom, when you look at some of the old stories, there's references to it potentially in the Vedic texts, referring to it as soma. And soma was the elixir of the gods. And when you look through many, many different traditions, they all talk about these potential elixirs of the gods that come from the sun, that are red and white. All of these stories, which I go into in the book, about how these mushrooms help us to connect. So I started to look into the fly agaric mushroom for its work on pain. So the Siberians have used fly agaric mushroom for many moons to help release trauma from the fascia of the body. Interestingly enough, I was talking about this, and a craniosacral osteopath said to me, she said, when you were talking, I realised that the fascia and the mycelium are the same thing. They look the same. And she was like, it's amazing. She had that light bulb moment. And what the fly agaric does is it goes in and it opens up the fascia of the body. So it's releasing trauma, because a lot of pain comes from trauma. Locked in our cells, locked in our muscles, locked in our fascia. And so with the fly agaric, it can help to release that. And when you apply it topically, it's non-psychoactive. So fly agaric mushroom, the red and white one, is psychoactive when consumed. There's a lot of research into muscimol, which is a component from the fly agaric being used to help with sleep and help with that rest and that relaxation, that resetting. And there's a lot of research now into the microdosing of different mushrooms, and we're going to be talking about psilocybin in a minute. So when you work with the fly agaric, and you can put it into, a lot of people were talking about a tincture, applying it to the spine for sciatica, and it releasing the sciatic nerve and the pain from that. So I thought, what about if it was in a balm with other herbs? How would that work? So if anyone would like to try this pain balm, I'm going to pass it round. This is a combination. It's done in sweet almond oil, castor oil, and coconut oil, and it's done with candelilla wax. You have CBD in there. There's frankincense, there's myrrh, there's copaiba, there's lavender, chamomile, plantain, calendula. What else is in there? Huh? Daisy, thank you. Yarrow. There's a whole load of things. There's 13 plants from my garden and essential oils and different medicinal mushrooms in there. So it's really powerful for pain. You can use it for meditation, rub it on your temples. I really love that. You can put it on your throat. It helps to open up the respiratory pathways as well. So you can rub it on your chest to help open up your airways. So very good for pain. And had some amazing stories of people really getting a lot of benefit from that releasing the trauma from the fascia of their body. And then looking at psilocybin, when we're talking about this connection to the spiritual, obviously Reishi mushroom does that because it's connecting you into your soul. And lion's mane, interestingly enough, they said that lion's mane grew where the lion stepped, and also where the deer walked. So they connected it to this spiritual energy of the lion, that expansion of the lion, and also the deer. So in Chinese medicine, both the lion's mane and the reishi were revered as such incredible things. In fact, if you were found harvesting it at certain times, you could be killed because it was the emperor's prized possessions. So these things really had this potency of the gods. That's what they believed. It was really anchoring in that energy. So when we're working with things that have this mythology about anchoring in this godly energy, this divine energy, what do you think it's going to do if we work with them ourselves? Well, it's going to help connect us into that beautiful divine energy that is all around us. As I said before, we already have that connection, but it's remembering it. It's helping to wake us up. So in the 50s and 60s, a lot of research started going on to psilocybin, into the liberty cat mushroom, the magic mushrooms, and there's a lot of different mushrooms that contain psilocybin, and looking at its use for mental health and its use for PTSD and trauma release. And the research that they were doing was absolutely phenomenal. And then it got shut down. What a surprise. And obviously Big Pharma came in, and all of the lovely array of mental health drugs came in. And you look at some of these antidepressants, and the first side effect is suicide. For me, that is a real worry. When you look at psilocybin and the research into that, there have been no people who have killed themselves on it. There's been no long-term adverse reactions. Some people can have a bad journey on them, but you're not going to have a long-term adverse reaction on them. So now the research is happening again, and it's interesting, at UCL there's a lot of professors who are researching the effects of psilocybin. They have to take the mushrooms outside of the university and then go in and run all the tests because it's illegal. It's a class A drug, so it's on the same level as cocaine and heroin. And it's from nature. And when you start to look at what it's doing in the brain, you know, I've heard so many incredible stories of people who have microdosed with psilocybin and it removing trauma, it releasing long-term PTSD. A story of a wonderful person I know, and she was taking it, she tried everything, and she had really bad PTSD and it was a really bad way. And she started microdosing, and within 3 months of microdosing, her PTSD had gone. Not it had faded a little bit, it had actually gone. And when you microdose, you don't have to, you know, if you're not tripping, you're safe to be in the world and be present. But what it's doing is it's opening up your perception. And when you take it alongside Reishi and lion's mane, what you're doing is you're rewiring the brain. So you're creating new neural pathways. What happens when we have trauma is we create these neural pathways of trauma and then we lock it in. And when you start to work with the psilocybin and the Reishi and the lion's mane, it's releasing that trauma and then it's going, hang on, we're not going to keep following these same pathways, we're going to create new ones so that we don't keep repeating the same patterns. Because sometimes you can heal from something and you can release it, but you keep doing the same actions. You're like, why am I still doing this? Because your brain is hardwired to follow those same patterns. So it's breaking the habits. And the Reishi is very, very good for a habit breaker. So it's that circuit breaker that we can put in with Reishi mushroom. I think that's a really, really important thing. So when we're working with these mushrooms, it's helping us to connect into who we are, to remember our soul, to remember what's all around us, to see the beauty of nature, to see the beauty of ourselves, and to unravel those layers of pretense and mind stuff, ego that comes in through our lives, through the trauma we have, so that we can actually go, who am I? Who is this beautiful soul? And why am I here? And for me, the thing that pulls me out of that space is the stress. So the more we can bring in those things to stop that stress from hitting is so important. I'm going to pass something else around. This is something I made, which is CBD, medicinal mushrooms and cacao. So this is Reishi, chaga and lion's mane with cacao and CBD. So if anyone wants to have some of this, put it on your hand, 3 drops, and then lick it off. Normally you'd put it under your tongue, but for health and safety, I'm going to pass it this way.
So what is it?
So this is a CBD oil with Reishi, chaga and lion's mane and cacao. So this is working on the endocannabinoid system and creating a base. So when we're looking at that stress response, when we're looking at all of those things that take us out of that alignment, stress, inflammation, if we can combat that, we can keep this alignment flowing. We can keep that earth and cosmic connection so that we are in tune with everything that's going on around us. So everything I do, tools to help us stay in that heart-centered space, to help us stay connected to our soul. And some of you know, because you've heard me talk before, but when I make different remedies, the plants and the mushrooms, I hear them sing. So I hear their note, because everything ultimately is vibration in the world, isn't it? So everything is vibration. What does that mean? Well, everything is sound. Everything comes down to sound. So you're making a sound, you're making a sound, you're making a sound. We're all making sounds. And most of us can't perceive those sounds. Sometimes we can tune in when we open our minds and we can hear, oh, that's the note. And it's like when you meet someone and you resonate and you're like, oh, and then your sound expands because they found a harmonic sound. And then your sound grows and you're creating this beautiful orchestral symphony. Anyone felt that before? Yeah. Or sometimes you meet someone and there's a disconnect and you're not in resonance and you're like, ooh, because your notes are clashing. It's like that thing, I don't know if you've ever had it, when you're trying to meet up with a friend and it never happens. Have you had that? And it's like you cancel and they cancel and you cancel and they cancel. And the universe doesn't want to bring you together because it can't. Because you're not, it's like magnets, you know, when you put 2 magnets together and there's that resistance, that push apart, because you're not on the same frequency. And then suddenly things align and you see them and it's like, oh, it's great to see you. Why don't we do this more often? Anyone had that before? And you're like, why don't we? Because you're not on the same level. And then suddenly it all levels out and you can join again. And this is the same with the plants. It's the same with remedies. It's the same with all of these things. That when we are on the same frequency, when things are resonating, so when I'm making remedies, when I hear the sounds and I pull them together, and when they resonate together, they create such a beautiful symphony. And that's where muscle testing is such an amazing thing. I don't know if any of you have done body dowsing before. And you stand and you say, show me my yes. And your body moves. And you say, show me my no. your body moves. And it might be different for you. And then you can hold something and say, is this in resonance with me right now? Is this what I need right now? And your body will say yes or no. And it's such a powerful way to start to tune into what's all around us, that the magic of creation, because when we can bring in that right energy, it can reset everything and shift us out of that moment that we were in. So this is how the mushrooms can really support that spiritual side. There's other layers to how the mushrooms can work, and one of the big parts is cancer and the mushroom support of cancer, fighting cancer in the body or releasing those cancer cells. And there's a lot of research into turkey tail mushrooms specifically for this. What's so interesting, I find it fascinating, in Japan for over 20 years they've been using turkey tail mushrooms in allopathic medicine. I have so many clients come to me with cancer, and some of them are going, I'm not going to have anything to do with the medical route. Some are like, I want to integrate both. Some people come to me and they're like, oh, I'm about to start chemo, what can I take alongside it? I was like, well, if you ask your doctor, nothing. You can't take vitamin C, you can't take a single supplement, because it could interfere. So that's everyone's choice. We all have to make our choice in each moment, don't we, with what we feel comfortable with. But when you then look into the research and go, okay, but actually, how come doctors in Japan say you shouldn't have chemotherapy or radiotherapy without turkey tail mushrooms? How come they've got the research, but we don't have the research? How does that work? Interesting, isn't it? So just food for thought. But I've worked with quite a few people who have said, I don't want to go the allopathic route. I want to connect with nature. I want to go that route. I want to look into actually as well what the core reason is for this cancer to have arrived. Because everything that happens, we are physical, mental, emotional, spiritual beings. We're not just physical. So breast cancer, for example, quite often is a lack of self-care, a lack of self-nurturing. You've not nurtured your being. You've given too much of your life force out. And so your breasts, which are those life givers, are reflecting that. And so the biggest part of the journey for anything, for any illness, is coming into listening to what the body's saying. Because everything that happens to us in this life is the body giving us messages, the soul giving us messages. It's our chance for growth, isn't it? Every illness, everything. And I look at my mother's illness, and I look at the journey she went through. And it wasn't just a journey for her, it was a journey for all of us. Everyone who interacted with her was affected by her illness. And if it wasn't for my mother's illness, I wouldn't be up here talking. I wouldn't be into health. I don't know what I'd be doing. I'd probably still be an actress. But I wouldn't be on this journey. So her illness gifted me and gifted thousands of people who have taken my products and worked with me a chance to connect into their body and into the earth and into that remembering of who they are. And that ultimately is the reason we're here, to remember and share that connection with each other of remembering. Isn't it lovely when you see someone and that person, you can feel them understanding and knowing their soul, and you look at them and you go, oh, I can feel your soul too. It's like the ancient salutation, namaste. The light in me sees the light in you. My soul sees your soul. So this is thousands of years old. This is what people have known, that we can connect, and we should be connecting in this way. And for me, this is the main mission of the mushrooms, is that remembrance. Sorry, slight sidetrack because I was talking about turkey tails and cancer. But ultimately, with any disease, as I said, it's a chance, it's dis-ease in the body. Where has that dis-ease come from? And how can we bring that body back into alignment so it can do what it naturally does? The body is incredible. The body will heal itself if we give it the tools. If we're nutritionally deficient, if we're filled with toxicity, and if we have all this emotional trauma locked in our body, it's going to be very hard for us to heal. So we start to break these things down, and we go, first of all, let's look at our nutrition. Let's make sure that we've got the right foods in our body. Let's make sure we're not vitamin D deficient. We've got all of these nutrients coming into our body. We're blessing our food. We're filling our body not just with physical nutrients, but with energetic nutrients, with gratitude and love. Let's get rid of the toxins from our body. Let's clear that stuff out. And in fact, chaga is an amazing detoxifier. Chaga incredible at breaking down radiation and heavy metals in our body, so we can start to bring that in to support our body in cleansing and clearing. So that cleansing and clearing is super important that we bring in. And then it's going, okay, so what's locked in my body and how do I release it? How do I get into that space where I can let go of it? And for me, the mushrooms can give you those clues, those anchors. And if you go on a mushroom journey, you know, a full mushroom journey, it can very much show you the root of where you're holding things locked in your body. And then you obviously we have to do the work to then let it go. It's not like it's just going to be an instant thing. We have to go, okay, so how can I integrate this? How can I release it? But the more we are locked in stress and trauma, the more we are doing this. You know, if we look at this is our body in tension, this is our body in stress. And if I want to give you something like this, can you receive anything like this? No. And can I get anything from you? No. So when we're like this, we can't give or receive, we're locked. Now what if I take a deep breath and I have some mushrooms and I go, now can I give? And can I receive? Yeah. And this is what I think about on a regular basis in my body, because it's a moment-to-moment thing, isn't it? It's a choice in every moment. Do I want to be like this or do I want to be like this? And sometimes we might want to be like this because that might be the only thing we can do. But in the next moment, we might be able to make another choice and go, you know what? Now I can breathe and I can release and I can open up my being so that I can feel and I can let go. One of the things that is really coming to me at the moment, you know, is there's a lot of electromagnetic frequencies flying around us all. We're being programmed with electromagnetic frequencies, 5G towers going up all over the place. And can't necessarily stop that. Maybe we can, but at the moment, that's what's happening. And it affects our bodies. Anyone feel affected by Wi-Fi and by electromagnetic frequencies? Yeah? So this is part of the adaptation that we need to go through because it is there. And it's not denying it's there. It's not running away. It's going, okay, well, I need to support my body to deal with this. I need to upgrade my cells so that they can just bat this off. And that's where the mushrooms can really come in to help. As I said, the chaga is amazing for the electromagnetic frequencies, as is Reishi. So it's helping to create that force field around us. I created a product called Enlighten, which is super support. It's immune support, energetic support. It's the whole kind of shebang. And that helps us with this upgrade. I was laying on the earth and I was like, I don't want to be wiped out by all these things. I don't want to keep being affected by everything. I don't want to be thrown off my center. What can I do? And that tincture came to me to actually help us expand into this new space. So when we're looking at the mushrooms, they're helping to protect us. They're helping to help support us to change with whatever's going on so that we're not thrown off our center all the time. So that we really can be these beautiful anchored beings. And that's such an important thing. For me, the mushrooms have really changed my life. And I've done a lot of work with children who are on the spectrum and adults, or whatever that means, to help them and to help with really supporting this challenging mental health that's come in. You know, when the world went mad a few years ago, with young people it was really evident what was happening, and it's coming out more and more, the desocialization, the programming that was happening, and this shutting off from the reality that everyone's known, the beautiful interactions that we're all having. And so what this did is it's caused a lot of people to have problems with their brain and how their brains are working as young people, because they've been desocialized. So schools, mental health facilities, everywhere is seeing this huge uprising in mental health issues. And how do we combat that? How do we work with that? Well, the mushrooms, I think, are the way in. I mean, there's so many ways. I've been doing lots of gardening and growing with children, and it's such a beautiful thing to get their hands in the soil and see the joy of children when they're growing. Anyone here grow anything? Yeah? How do you feel when you grow? Amazing. It's that interaction, isn't it, with the soil? It's one of the most important things when we touch soil. And Dr. Khan was talking about, you know, in India, the Ayurvedic practices working with soil to cleanse and detoxify our body. When we put our hands on the soil has an electromagnetic frequency. And this electromagnetic frequency affects us in such profound ways, such a powerful healer. So just putting our hands in the soil, it comes back to also that thing about foraging when you're out in nature and you're walking around and you're in the present and you're touching mushrooms and you're looking at them growing. I mean, they're such, for me, awe-inspiring beings, the mushrooms. I've got a story to tell you in a minute. But, you know, with children, this is what they need. They need nature. They need these experiences like we have here. It's beautiful, isn't it, to be all together with like-minded people on the earth, sleeping on the earth. And for what I've seen, sorry, can you put his hat on him?
I just asked him.
I'm just looking at my little boy just sitting there, getting a little bit red. So sorry to interrupt that. But when we're looking at how we can really support people, the mushrooms have been such catalysts. I've had people who have children who have PDA, which is known as pathological demand avoidance. What it actually is when the nervous system is hardwired in trauma, and when the being is so overwhelmed that the body goes into overload and is stuck in freeze. Basically, that's what happens. And so when any demand comes on that person, they're frozen and they can't act. Even if they want to, they can't, because their whole system is locked in freeze. And this woman got in touch with me, and she had a 15-year-old son, and she said, I think I'm going to have to institutionalise him. I can't cope with the violence, the anger, the outbursts. She said, I love him, but I cannot do this to myself anymore. I said, get on this mushroom tincture, which is the one I've got over there, or this one actually. I said, get on this mushroom tincture, and I said, get some bark flower remedies as well, and probiotics. Those are the three things. And within a week, she messaged me and she said, I can't believe it. She said, I don't know what's going on. She said, but his outbursts have reduced. She said, I'm a little bit shocked. Anyway, every week she kept messaging me, and the outbursts would decline and decline and decline. And after 3 months, she messaged me and she said, I've got my son back. He's the most beautiful being, and he's back. And that is such an incredible thing, because the power of mushrooms helped his mind come out of overwhelm, helped his adrenals come out of freeze mode, and helped his body reset. And as I mentioned before, with Reishi mushroom being the soul mushroom, it's connecting him into his soul. And this is the problem with so many people, is that disconnection from soul. If you're disconnected from your soul, it's very easy to be affected by things around you, by everything around you, isn't it? Because we can be thrown, because we don't have that anchor of truth. If you know why you're here, it makes getting up every day much easier, because you have a purpose. So if anyone's struggling with their purpose, get on the mushrooms. Seriously. And it doesn't have to be the psychoactive mushrooms, it can be Reishi mushroom, and you don't even have to consume them. And this is what's so powerful. Can I just have a quick time check? Okay, amazing. Okay, great. So when we were writing the book, my wonderful husband over there helped edit the book and did all the artwork and the layout. Incredible man. He's got an amazing book over there, The Mechanics of Manifestation, which I highly recommend, and some beautiful CDs as well. And later on this evening, Giles is going to be singing for world peace, hopefully with lots of others, from 9 p.m. onwards. So it's starting off in here, so come and join us. Sunset to sunrise. 3 a.m. is the astronomical solstice. So this is a really important time to anchor in peace. So come and join us with your beautiful voices later. So when we were doing this book, there were a few pictures that we were missing, and we were missing some pictures of the Amanita. So it was my birthday time, the end of October, and a friend had come over and she'd given me this beautiful print of an Amanita mushroom. I said, oh, where's that? Where was that taken? She said, oh, West Stowe, which is about half an hour from us. And Giles and I had a special day out planned, so we're like, let's go to West Stowe. So we went mushroom hunting. So we're walking through, looking, and it's like being in the Celestine Prophecy. You know, we were watching the birds. We were really open and open to the perceptions of where we were being guided, and we were following birds, and it was really quite a magical thing. And we weren't on any psychoactive mushrooms. We were just in the beautiful psychoactive journey that is life, you know, following the vibe. And we saw this beautiful, massive birch tree. Oh, she was so amazing. And I run these Earth Wisdom mentorships where we look at, it's a year program where we get into the plants and the mushrooms and the trees. And we were doing birch, and I said, I want a picture by this birch tree. So had a picture by this birch tree, and then looked around, and we started walking. And we started walking. I've got quite a loud voice, so I'll just talk. So we started walking to the right. Can you all hear me? Okay. So we started walking over, and what was amazing was suddenly there, like the Holy Grail, was an Amanita mushroom, and it was like, oh, you know, had that beautiful glow about it. Probably good that I didn't have the mic when I was making that noise. And got some amazing pictures of it. And that was the mushroom, and we just sat meditating with this mushroom. And I tell you what, the energy from that mushroom, without even consuming it, was so trippy. It was incredible. You know, we were off on a beautiful, thank you. Oh, that's better. We were off on this beautiful journey, just being sat in the presence of it. Because it's like in so many traditions, you know, the spiritual master, they don't need to say a word. You can go and sit with that spiritual master and just receive the transmission. Have you ever been around people where you just receive the transmission? They don't have to say anything, and you're like, oh, I feel so inspired and uplifted just by the presence of a being. And the mushrooms are exactly the same. All plants and trees are the same. You know, you can go and stand by a beautiful tree and be in awe of the magnificence that it emanates, you know. Oh, magical. So we were sat with this incredible mushroom, and then we hadn't seen any other fly agarics, so we kind of came out of the meditation, stood up, looked around, and there were loads of them. And what it felt like was the birch tree was the gateway. And we'd honoured the birch tree, and suddenly the birch had then opened up the path to unravelling what was already there that we couldn't see. And then when we sat and communed in respect with nature, nature gave back, as it always does. Gave back such a beautiful gift of seeing all of these incredible mushrooms, which was such a joy. So I hope you've enjoyed my talk on mushrooms. I have my lovely book over there if you'd like to come and get it, and lots of other beautiful products that I make. And all the mushrooms that I use in my products are all grown in the UK. So they all come from a beautiful source, because it's really important when we're working with mushrooms that with anything, that we start to know, where are these things coming from? What is the source? Because actually what's so important is the intention behind anything that is the key. So I've had people using my different things and saying, oh, this works so much better than a different one. And it's like, well, what's the intention that the other people have set? Because that actually is more important than the ingredients in the thing in the first place. Because everything is vibration. So whatever vibration you're putting in when you're creating things is so important. So food, with drink, with anything, with our lives, you know? What intention are you putting into every day when you wake up? What intention are you putting in when you're walking, when you're existing, when you're breathing, when you're eating? And we don't get it in every moment, do we? Because we're humans on this beautiful existence. But for me, we're growing and learning in every moment, and that's what it is. It's about that choice in every moment, this or this. So I hope you've enjoyed my talk. Thank you very much for listening. And if you want to put your details on my mailing list over there, please do. And yeah, thank you. Thank you, Eli, for this beautiful space, and your wonderful team, Amanda and Sarah, for inviting me here.
Thank you. Thanks, Juliette.